Welcome back to another episode of Ignite the podcast. Today we have none other than Ben Cuminco, who is to me I want to say my travel executive, right? A lot of people think a travel planner or travel agent. For me, he's a travel executive. A lot of people see him as a business traveler, and for me, what he does has been amazing. I mean, he puts me in the right place at the right time, and he buys me. I actually invest in him because he buys me a lot of time, and everyone knows time is more valuable than money. And so, if he can get me in the right place, and whenever I'm traveling, get me in and out, and just making this, if you've ever been traveling, having to travel in the smoothest way possible is super, super important. At least to me, it is. But Ben, I want to welcome you to the podcast, man. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here and share with your audience a little bit about how they can travel better and travel more often.
Yeah. I think one of the things I wanted to ask, because I think I mentioned this to you before, because before even meeting you and having to work with you, I was one of those guys, right? When I would travel, go through the airports and see like the lounges that we talked about, that I would think that, you got to be wealthy or you got to pay a lot of money to be in these lounges. And you taught me otherwise, right? What is, for those that don't know, and as well as you taught me, what the lounge is, how do you get into those rooms and how do you get that exclusiveness?
It all started with, I hate paying for airport food and spending $20 for a sandwich and a drink, which is what you end up doing. And if you end up taking your family over to an airport, you're going to find it's $100 and you didn't even buy anything other than chips and snacks. And then you'll have a connection and you're going to spend another because your kids are hungry again. And I needed to figure out a way how I was going to be able to travel and do it for less. And you know what? A lot of those lounges have food, have drink, have Wi-Fi, has a good place to sit. And you can actually hang out there. And then you don't have to worry about, what am I going to go do if I get there 2 hours early? There's a place for you to be able to hang out with and be able to, especially early flights. Here, I'm going to give you a tip right earlier. If you never want to be delayed, the best thing to do is be on an earliest flight, the first or second flight at the latest. And the reason is because the very first flight of the day will take off on time. Why does it take off on time? Because it flies in the night before. It sits there for 6 hours overnight. If there's a problem with that plane, they have 6 hours to fix that. Most planes, when they get into the rest of the day, they have 10 minutes. And if there's a problem, you're going to get delayed. And if that happens, then all flights get delayed after that. So if you get on that first flight or second flight, you're pretty much ensured they're going to take off early. Now, here's the thing where it comes to the lounges. If you take that first flight, it's probably 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning. And I know you're probably thinking, I don't want to get there that early. I want to take my time. Here's the problem. You're going to have stress coming in because if you come in at 8, 9, 10 o'clock flight, everyone's trying to do the same thing. Your line's going to be longer. You're spending your whole time waiting in line, and your kids are going to get hungry. Next thing you know, they're going, you know what? I wasn't hungry when I left the house, but now they're hungry at the airport, and now you're spending $100 every single time. If you get in the lounges, they open, like the American Airlines lounge opens at 4:30 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
So you can get in there. You don't have to worry about making a sandwich or anything like that. You're getting in there. You got coffee, grab your guacamole in the morning with chips, and you have oatmeal. I mean, your kids are totally fine. They're getting on board and they're fine, and they're not going to complain. That's the difference too when you do those type of things, and it makes a big difference. You could be able to get a lounge pass. Better yet, I would say get one of these cards that actually gives you unlimited access, especially if you travel more.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that was one of those questions I was going to ask you, is that, does this only pertain to people that are, traveling for business on their own, or single, individuals? But no, I mean, it actually pertains even for family. If you're traveling with your family and being able to take advantage of those lounges, it's actually, like you just said, you save a lot more money because you're buying for everybody now, right?
Yeah. Here's the thing about it. American Airlines lets you get into the Admirals Club, and if you have a membership, the member gets in, and you can take either 2 adults or you can take your entire family. And many times you can also add an authorized user, which means that they also get guest access. They don't need to pay the full, $800 fee. They could pay like $100, $150, I think it's $195 now. You can add an authorized user on the card, and they'll have full access, even if you're not traveling with them. So if your wife decides she needs to go on a business trip or a girls trip, she can bring her girlfriends with her in the lounge with her if she has an authorized user card.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have, your guest doesn't necessarily have to have one.
Not if you're authorized user on one of the cards, yep.
Wow, that is cool. And that's only through American Express or American Airlines?
Citi has a card called the American Airlines Executive Card. That's a great card. For many years, that card used to give authorized users free. They used to give you 10 authorized users for free.
Wow.
So it could be 11 people on a card. And the card at the time, I think they were paying like $495. So if you split it up between 11 people, you're paying maybe like $50 a year, and you would have access to the Admirals Club, which was one of the biggest things that we did for a long time. Now you're paying like $195 for every member, but still, I think it's still a great value when you look at it.
Wow, I think that's it. And then, and for those of you that know me, I'm always looking for, trying to make most out of my dollar, and that's why, me and Ben get along so well. He's always helping me saving.
And here's the thing about it. You could actually even use on a connection. So let's just say you had a departure, on your departure lounge. You can go use it when you're at a connecting lounge. So if you connect in Dallas or in Fort or Phoenix, you could use it there too. And then here's the other thing. Let's say you land, you could also use it on arrival. Before you get out of the airport, you can go grab some more snacks. So, I mean, technically, you can eat before you leave, while you're doing the trip, and then, because they're not feeding you on the plane anymore.
Yeah. You're going to eat a little couple crackers and saying, hey, you want some crackers and coffee?
Exactly.
Some burnt coffee.
And they even have complimentary drinks. They even have complimentary alcohol, too. So, I mean, you could be able to take advantage of the lounge, and it saves you a lot of money over time.
Man, that is so crazy. And I didn't know that you can actually, if you're stopping in or you have a layover or anything like that, you can actually use the lounge there too.
Yeah, so it makes connections a little bit better. And the other thing, most people, when you're flying normally, because you're flying and you're just trying to get from point A to point B, you're trying to fly as fast as you absolutely can. And that ends up making the miserable journey sometimes, just because you got to wake up really early. You're going to try to get in a cramped seat. When you earn also what they call elite status, which is picking one airline, I'm going to lead to that. It's one of the biggest mistakes I think a lot of people make too, is that they're always searching for the lowest fare. This may sound counterintuitive. Everybody's saying, Ben, of course I'm always looking lower fare. And I used to do the same thing. But what I found that is, if you decide to pick one airline to fly, it may make more sense to pick that, even if it's not always the lowest fare. Let me explain why. When I was a business traveler for many years, I would fly Southwest if it was locally, if I'm based in LA. If I was trying to head up to the Pacific Northwest, like Seattle, Portland, I would fly Alaska because they had more flights. And if I had to fly the rest of the country, I'd fly American. So I was spread out between 3 different airlines. What happened was, even though I signed up for their frequent flyer mileage earning program, I never earned enough miles to ever make a redemption because I split it. So I had low. That was one problem.
Yeah.
The second problem is, I didn't fly one, so the airline didn't recognize that I flew other airlines. They didn't know I flew other airlines. They just thought I got on their plane twice a year, 3 times a year, because the frequency I was flying them. I got on a plane one time, and I was sitting in the extra cabin. I had that main cabin extra seat, and a guy sitting next to me, we started talking. He said he was a business traveler too, but he flew way less than I did. But what happened was this. It was a day that kind of changed my life. The gate agent came through. We were about to take off. She comes through, and she asks the guy sitting next to me, excuse me, are you so-and-so? And he says, yes. And then she takes his ticket and hands him another ticket and says, you can move up to 1A, up the first row in first class. And he moved up to first class. And I said to myself, I've been flying this airline for like 5 years. I've never had anyone, by the way, that's called an operational upgrade. They upgrade you right on the spot. After you check in your seat. Like, they can still upgrade you all the way there.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So he came up and they basically got his bags and they moved them to the front row. And I said to myself, after we got off the plane, I'm going to go talk to him. I'm going to find out why or how that even happened. I went and talked to him, and he said that I found out, even though he flew less than me, he flew only American Airlines. So he had a elite status. He had gold status. He had silver, platinum status. And I had never reached that level because I had split it up, because I was always looking for the lowest flight. And what I found out was that he got that extra leg room for free, whereas I had to pay for it. He got free bags because he had elite status. He got to take not only himself, but if he flew with his wife or his kids, they also got the extra legroom seats. They didn't have to pay for the seat selection. He always got the extra legroom. He always got the extra, and his entire family. So it wasn't just him. It was him, or if he had anyone traveling with him. So as long as he was traveling and he booked a ticket together in a group, he would always get that. And I said, that clicked it for me, because I said, I've been doing this wrong the whole time. Because in the end, he paid less than I did, because I had to pay for the extra legroom. I had to pay for seat selection. I had to pay for the bag. I didn't have it was just like a whole folly of things that people who don't fly enough, they don't realize. And even though his ticket price, base fare, may be higher than Delta or United, he was saving because all the other extras.
The upgrades.
Because the airline knows if they charge you $400, you're not paying $400. You're going to pay that and then some. And if you don't pay it, then I'm sorry, you're boarding last. Don't bring a carry-on, and you're going to be sitting in the middle seat.
Yeah, and you'll be watching a fight in the middle of the plane.
Something like that, exactly. So the airlines know that, and so they sell you the lowest fare doesn't mean that that's always the best price for you in the end.
Well, I think overall, like what I've been able to see, I mean, it's and I was taught the wrong way as well by someone else that taught us that we'll travel a lot and say, "Oh, go for the cheapest fare." And I know if you're in Europe, you get the Airbus, right? Out here, you get the Spirit Airlines or the Frontiers, and you get all the delays and you get all the fights, and you're almost in the fight. You know what I mean? And it's just a mess. And just the I don't want to say it's the class of people, but it is. It's like kind of like, who do you want to travel with and how do you want to travel? I know for myself, now that I travel a lot with my family, I don't want to be traveling in an airline where I could possibly a fight's going to break out or some craziness is going to happen in between, getting a service. I'm just trying to get from point A to point B, the safest way possible. And all of us are going to be 30,000 feet up in the air. The last thing I want to be doing is fighting or in the middle of any craziness. But yeah, I think I learned that too as well from you. It's just we used to do the whole Spirit Airline and Frontier and all that when I was prior to my little ones and we were doing that and I was like, man, this is not the right way. Like saving a buck to do this is horrible.
Yeah, you start to figure out, are you making good life decisions in your life? Like when you're up in the air, you're like, what did I do? I saved like $25 and I'm gonna deal with this, right?
Yeah,
I dropped my
we
phone
learned
on
that lesson
Spirit.
in Seattle because we were stuck. I remember going to Seattle from LAX to Seattle and we got stuck at the airport for hours and I was like, this is not a good judgment. I'm like, we're wasting so much time. We lost a day that we should have been in Seattle, and it's all because we went with one of these. And look, I'm not knocking anybody that can only afford to do those, but if you can afford to, make an extra effort and fly better, and then again instead of using cash, I think everybody uses cash. I think I'm a person too. I want to use it. I want to show people because everybody is always about cash. Oh, let me pay cash for everything, or let me pay. And Ben taught me that with cards and all these incentives, I'm learning how things are better. A lot better. Cash is not king on anything. So in business and personally and also in flying.
If the cash rate is low, just book it with cash. But if the cash rate is high, then start looking at points. When I started doing this, I used to be in insurance for many years. And when you're doing financial planning, you're usually planning for the long term. You're talking about people having insurance, having retirement plans, all those kind of things. Those are all long-term things. The way I always look at points is that it's short-term currency. So just like you have a stock portfolio, mutual funds, the way I look at points is that it's another form of currency, something that you can use for your play money. Whereas instead of putting a vacation fund together, your points is your vacation fund. Your points is your stress relief fund. Because instead of using your hard-earned money, if there's another alternative to it, then you can take now that money that you free up because you're not going to use it for travel. You can use your points. Then now you can fund your retirement. You could put away, pay your taxes. You could put away for your retirement or college education for your kids or anything else that you need to do or invest in your business. Yeah. And that's the way I always looked at points is that it's an alternate form of currency that you can have in your portfolio that I think everyone should have. The United States is one of the only countries in the world that allows you to actually earn points this easily. Do you know that Canada is number 2 and a distant third is like Australia, but like there's really only US and Canada in the world that allows you to be able to earn the kind of points you have, especially with your credit cards. They don't allow that kind of earnings anywhere else. And the choices that we have here are so plentiful that I really think that if you're an American in the US system and you have access to financial systems, it's something you absolutely should do.
Now, here's the thing. For me, I was used to points, obviously, but for statement credits, right? I would use my credit cards for business and then, hey, you have this much earned now. You want to use it towards a statement, your next month's statement or your balance. And then, I always mess around with it that way. But you've told me that now there's a way where that $300 that might go to the statement might become more money on points, right, for traveling than it is on those $300. So yeah, I'll get the $300 right now, or I can actually use it towards a travel plan in the future. You're saying?
This is a good point. Actually, I would say the majority of people use it that way. They think 30,000 points is $300 because each point is worth 1 cent. And from my perspective, that's the minimum. At the worst case scenario, you get it 1 cent per point. But what you probably could do, if you understand, is that if you booked an economy ticket transferring it to one of the airline programs, you can get 70% more value. You can get almost 2 cents per point.
Wow.
If you use it for business class, you can get 3 cents per point. If you use it for first class internationally, you can get 7 points or more for every point.
So it more than doubles.
More than double. So I think that's one of the things I think people don't realize. And the challenge where I think a lot of people don't realize is that they may be stuck earning one airline program.
Yeah.
Like they just earn Delta.
Yeah.
Or they just earn Marriott points, which is probably what the most popular programs would people buy, or they'll just earn only Southwest points. The problem with the like Southwest is that it's a fixed rate. You only get 1.3 cents per point. Like it never is going to get you 2-3 cents.
Okay.
So earning a bunch of Southwest is not going to get you there. Delta, the problem with Delta is this. Delta, and this is going to be my hot take on this, is that Delta is the greatest airline in America. It is a premium airline. There's no dispute about that. And that's why people love them and they fly them. The problem is Delta knows that. They're the hot girl at the bar.
That's right. So they don't
They don't
they
care.
don't need to sell you anything.
They don't sell you
give you
anything.
any points.
If you want me, you're going to pay more than everybody else. And that's what's happening right now. So if you are collecting points, you're going to have to pay a lot more to get from LA to Atlanta than you would if you paid with American Airline points.
Wow.
Like I'm talking like half. Sometimes like you would save 70% if you use another program, especially if you're trying to fly internationally. Because here's what happens to a lot of people. You earn status with Delta, you get a lot of points, you get 100,000, 200,000 points, and then you never look at the redemption. You go back and look at the redemption, you're like, oh, if I want to fly that fancy Delta one with the lie flat bed, with the door, they want 300,000 points.
Wow.
And you're like, I don't have that much. So now you have to go get another card. You got to go buy some more points just to be able to make use of those points.
Yeah.
And not knowing that you could have earned American Express points.
Now that you mentioned that too, right now you said that you buy points. You can actually, in this industry that you're in in the point system and traveling, you can actually buy other people's points or is that something that's done or no?
Well,
kind of like
actually,
a trade line for credit?
Actually, airlines will sell you points if you want to, but they usually sell at a higher cost. The airlines don't actually want you buying and trading openly in the public because if you do, they have terms and conditions against it, or they'll try to crack down on it. They don't mind you gifting it. They don't mind you booking for a family member or a friend. That's fine. So as long as you do it within those means, you're totally fine.
Yeah.
As long as you're not buying them, they're fine with that. Yeah.
And I think for me, it's just like, I mean, I'm that person that I'm like, I don't have the time to really look at how everything works. So I just rather buy the time. And the way I buy the time is through investing in you.
Yeah.
And then you do it all that for me. And then I don't have to worry about it.
And that's one way to do it. So find someone that you trust, that you could be able to give you the advice that you need and cut down the time. Because, I don't think everybody has time to read 3 hours a day and keep up with everything that's going on with all the things. But
especially as a business owner,
Yeah.
multiple business owners, partnerships and investing and so many different things. It's like, it's just not priority at that point.
It totally makes sense. But one thing that everyone here that's listening can do is they can get the right points.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we were saying before earlier was that the banks right now are better than the airlines. The banks have created their own points. So like, let's say you had Delta miles, right? And I mentioned, I just finished saying like how I think Delta miles are, some people call them sky pesos. They call Sky miles. They're not even sky
they're trash. Let's just say what it is. They're garbage.
You could probably, okay, for those who are probably in Atlanta and going, oh no, they're great if you're based in Atlanta or you're based in Salt Lake City or Minneapolis.
It's
and
funny
you're
you
trying
say
to get,
that. They love Delta in the Georgia area,
because
right?
Atlanta is their home office.
Yeah.
And you don't have a choice. See, here's the other thing. A lot of times, depending on where you live, you don't have a choice. If I live in Dallas, I have to choose American. If I'm in Atlanta, I don't have a choice other than picking a Delta because they're the main carrier. LA and JFK are the only two airports in the country that you have a choice. LAX and JFK.
Wow, I didn't know that. So they kind of like monopolize that area.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. If you live in Houston, you're United. If you're in San Francisco, you're kind of United as your hub because they have more flights out of than any other airline.
So you really truly have to know, like, hey, where are you building your points? Because they're going to be worthless if you're in the wrong place.
If you live in the middle of the country, getting JetBlue is useless to you. You're never going to end up using it because they only fly coast to coast. They're going to fly right over you. So understanding where you are, that's one of the first questions. When people come to me all the time, like, Ben, so what's the first credit card I should go get? Or what program? And I have to ask them these things because if not, if anyone ever just starts telling you credit cards to get without asking you these questions, you should run the other way. You're not going to get the right advice.
They're just giving you pretty much like random advice, and they don't know where you live. They don't know what you travel for. They don't know if you're traveling alone with your family. Like, what do you do? Kind of like the interview that you gave me, right? When we started kind of working together, and it's like, hey, what do you normally do? What do you use it for? And then actually we do that all the time. I think when I'm in contact with you, it's always like, okay, what are you doing? What are you up to this time? And then we kind of cover those before we actually plan ahead.
Yeah, because if I don't know what your intention is and what your goal is, because it's going to be different when Diego flies himself versus he's flying with his family.
Yeah, 100%.
Those are two different things. My wife taught me that early on. I mean, when I got started, I was a business traveler. I was staying at La Quinta hotels. I forget it. I'm being generous by calling it a hotel. Okay?
Yeah.
It was probably
The fifth.
We had a
The
travel
fifth La
policy.
Quinta.
We said as long as it was called inn in the name, so a Residence Inn, Holiday Inn, Quality Inn. I stayed every inn out there, and then I remember I got to top tier status with La Quinta Inn, and I got to like black level. I was like staying to 30 nights a year. They give you 2 free nights if you stay 30 nights. They give you 2 free nights. I told my wife, I'm going to take you to San Diego. She's thinking it's like a Waldorf Astoria 5-star. No, this is not that. Because every La Quinta is pretty much the same. When we pulled up, it was Hotel Circle off the 8 freeway. The view was not sand and surf. It was 8 freeway and a parking lot.
Wow.
That was, when we pulled up, she had said, this is where we're staying. And I said, yeah, I'm so, see, this is the thing. I was so excited at the beginning that this is a free trip. Like that this is free. That I completely lost sight of
that
the
you
experience.
had her with you.
of the experience.
Yeah, and then plus, it's for us, we're dudes. Like for us, sometimes we could travel however and figure it out, but they cannot travel the way we travel.
And if any of you listening
And
are
they
a guy,
shouldn't, right?
right? If you're a guy right now and you're going, oh, I'm going to just do the cheapest way possible and I'm going to get all the free stuff, be careful because the person you're trying to impress isn't impressed that it's free.
Gonna be impressed
My
that
wife
it's
could
free.
care less it was free. She could care less. She's like, I don't care. You know what she told me at the end? She's like, if this is your idea of a vacation, I'm not interested anymore in vacation with you.
Wow.
She's like, I'd rather be home because it's more comfortable.
Yeah.
The breakfast wasn't that impressive either. So when you look at it in the end, I had to end up getting a different job. I ended up getting a different job and like, I need a new travel policy. And some of the time, some of you have to think differently too. Because if you think differently, you're going, look, if there's a lady in your life, they want to go on vacation, not just go on the road and leave their house. They want to experience something different.
Yeah.
And I think that's some of the things that points and miles can do because of that, you can be able to use your points not only at a 2-3 star, but you could use it at a 5-star property. You could stay at a luxury location. Remember when we booked you for the Thompson in Atlanta?
Oh,
that was
yeah.
a nice
that was
property,
nice,
right?
man.
Like you could be
one
able
of
to
the
do that.
best.
You could do
Yeah.
that with cash, but you can also do with points.
Yeah.
And so points allows you also properties that you probably maybe not otherwise do, but you wouldn't pay with cash, but you do with points. Someone's like a gift. I always say this.
Yeah, the breakfast was amazing.
Right?
The stay, the views, like everything was great. You know, and I
the
think,
upgrades too, and
the
things like
upgrades.
that.
And
Yeah.
and I think that's one thing too, like that I really appreciate about having someone like you. It's like it's like having a CPA without a tax strategist, right? We talked about this. It's like you can't. They're two different things. And I think with having you is like being able to like touch down. You talked about the family, like we talked about the wives or your significant other, right? But also when you have kids, like you always ask me that too. Hey, where are you going? So we went to Orlando, right? We ended up staying. We went to Palm Springs, so it's not just me and the wife. It's me, wife, and kids, and we ended up staying at a place that has like fun things for them to do, s'mores and all kinds of crazy stuff, you know, and you know, water parks, and so those are the things that are very important too. I think, and with using the point system and being able to take advantage of all that, it's just I can only imagine how expensive it would have got if it was all cash. Like, kind of just pay cash for everything.
Yeah. And there's other things you can do when you do cash too. I mean, a lot of people don't realize this, but there are discounts too that you can apply for. If you work for a university, if you're alumni, if you work for a big company, there are discounts that hotels will try to bring that audience. Because, you know, let's say you're probably thinking like, why would an alumni of a university matter? Because they got football games and basketball games and people travel for those things all the time for those things.
Yeah.
And when they bring out, you know, they're having a Rose Bowl, of course, they're supporting those hotels, and they're looking to attract those people. So they will give them discounts.
Yeah.
And if you're part of that, you could be able to apply that. That applies for rental cars. That applies for hotels. And so there's a lot of things that you could be able to earn points and earn discounts along the way as well.
Yeah, not only sport. I mean, sports is big, right?
Yeah.
When you talk about travel ball for all kinds of kids, you know, and then there's a lot of families that travel all the time. And I'm like, what? Like they should be using credit cards instead of using their own cash.
Yeah.
I feel like that, like this is a way for them to actually earn money back. And it's like you just said, you're gonna get 70% more value than just using it for the statement. Like I'm still like trying to understand that because I'm like, to me, it was just so easy to just grab the money and say, hey, just apply it to the statement, you know?
And if you never fly or you never travel, that's fine. That's one way to do it. But if you ever going to get onto a plane, you should probably consider your points as your vacation fund. And I seen people use it for a statement credit. And next thing you know, they turn around, they call me and they're like, I'm going to go on vacation. I got to go somewhere. And I'm like, we could use your points. Oh, I already used on a statement credit. I'm like, we could have made that point worth a lot more. And I'll say this. If you're on Travel Ball, you should look at something called the Southwest Companion Pass. The Southwest Companion Pass allows you to be able to fly using your points or cash, but then you can name someone else as a companion and they fly for free unlimited for the entire year and a half. It's a great thing. And the great thing about it is if you get one of those Southwest credit cards, they'll allow the bonus points that you get when you sign up to count toward reaching you need to reach 135,000 points a year. But if you get a sign-up bonus from a personal card and a business card, those bonus points count to it. Basically, when you get one in each with the bonus, you could be able to get Companion Pass. And we're going into the season right now. If you get it right now and you hit it in January and February, you'll have it for all 2026 and 2027. You can have it up for 2 years.
It doubles.
Yeah. So imagine flying on cash on Southwest.
I'm the double up guy, man. I like doubling everything.
Right? Imagine you flying on cash and then your person who your companion, maybe your wife or your kids, they can be your companion and they fly for free. All they got to pay is taxes like $5.60. And the good thing about it is that even if you're not paying cash and you use your points, your Southwest points, you can still name they can still fly. So whether you're paying cash or whether you're paying points, they fly for free.
They do that.
Yeah.
And then you were saying earlier, like right now, and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, you can actually use, there's some cards that you can combine. Is that true? Like you can combine points from different cards and then to be able to like make that honeymoon or that trip that you've been wanting to do.
So Chase has a family of cards. They have something called ink cards, or business cards. You could be able to earn points from all the business. And then let's say you had a personal card from the Chase points. You could move your business points to your personal and combine them all. In fact, if your wife gets one or your significant other gets another card and you're in the same residence, you live in the same household, they can also transfer it to you. So now you're pooling your points together and it makes it into one program. So when you're ready to redeem, you can redeem it much easier and
all together.
faster. Yeah.
You can combine those points.
The problem, like, let's say I had Delta points here and American points here. They're competitors. They're not going to combine them. I can't do anything with that. That's another thing that's great about the bank programs. So the bank programs right now are trying to run an airline without running the airplanes. So they have travel credit, free bag credit, hotel credit. They're giving you even status sometimes if you get the right credit card. So a lot of the banks now actually have programs that have their own programs and you earn their points and they let you move it to 15, 16 different airlines if you want to.
You can actually combine them to the points and that's what you're saying.
Yeah. Like, for example, Virgin Atlantic and Air France Flying Blue. Why do I bring up those two airlines? Because they're partners of Delta. Remember I just mentioned remember a second ago how I trashed Delta? I'm not saying you can't fly Delta. I'm saying you don't want to earn their points. So what you can do is you can earn Virgin Atlantic program points or Flying Blue, which is Air France. Those are two airlines that Delta owns, by the way. Delta has like a 40% stake in these airlines. And what happened?
You can combine the points.
They'll let you. Well, what they're going to do is they'll let you have. There was a reciprocal. If you're a customer of Virgin or you're a customer of Air France, you can buy a Delta flight. So if you go to their website, Virgin's flight, or you go to Air France Flying Blue's website, you can buy a ticket on Delta. But here's the thing. Delta doesn't have any control over what they charge. So Air France charges their own rate for a Delta flight. And guess what? It's sometimes half the price.
Oh,
half.
That's crazy.
Or less.
Wow.
So you could be able to fly more people for less. So what you pay for Delta for one ticket, you can get 2 tickets or maybe even 3 tickets using Air France customer. And here's where you go. You probably go, I haven't flown Air France before. I haven't flown. It doesn't matter. If you're earning American Express points, They let you move your Amex points to Virgin or lets you transfer to Air France, and then you can book on the Air France website. You can book a Delta flight.
Now, can you book Delta here, or it has to be in France?
No, you can book it from here.
Wherever. Oh,
Yeah,
wow,
it doesn't.
that's
It could be
crazy.
anywhere Delta flies. As long now, here's the thing: Delta may have 10 flights for their own members. That Air France, they maybe only give 2 or 3 flights to choose from. But if they're only charging you half, and then those flights work for you, then it works. So you have to have some flexibility. But if you wanted to be able to get more people and get most out of your points, that's the best way.
You've traveled many different airlines. What's the best airline? Yeah, I mean, I traveled.
There
Let me
are-
tell you mine. I think my best
okay.
experience has been in an Alaska airline plane, and that was the time that we got delayed through Spirit, and luckily they upgraded us to an Alaska airline, and then that was like by far to me one of the best. And Norwegian in Europe.
Norwegian, I don't think they're anymore. I think they're no more.
Oh, wow.
They didn't make
Well,
it through the pandemic.
Wow,
They didn't make it through
I
the
got to
pandemic.
experience their
Yeah.
airline and the flight, and the plane was amazing.
A low cost carrier, and they were flying transatlantic. If you're talking about earning points, I would say the 2 most valuable points to earn if you were going to pick an airline would be American Airlines and Alaska Airlines. And one of the reasons for that is that they have the best partners. You'll find American, Delta, and United have their own kind of network. I kind of call it a gang or a family, and they're all exclusive. American has really the best network, and American and Alaska are partners. It's the only alliance with 2 U.S. airlines.
Okay.
So you got American and Alaska. They're like brothers and sisters in the same alliance, but they have some of the best airlines. So this is going to go answer your question. What is the best airline? The best airlines not American or not U.S. airlines. The best airlines, I already told you the best U.S. airline. That's Delta. But if you're going to go with the best airline in the world, they're usually going to be found in Asia or in the Middle East.
Wow.
So the Asian and the Middle East airlines are usually the best. I mean, in terms of service, in terms of food, in terms of catering, in terms of, so you've probably heard of Emirates. You may have heard of Qatar.
Yeah.
They have a fantastic, catering. They have fantastic, like restaurant quality food, like in the air at 40,000 feet in the air,
Yeah.
With china and silverware, and then fantastic service. And then when you're talking about the seats, I mean, not only are the seats in business class lie flat, but they have like cubby holes for you. There's a giant 40-inch TV screen in front of you. And then you get to the US, the Asian airlines. I say many of the Asian airlines are good. Starlux right now is one of my favorites out of Taipei. They're EVA Airlines, ANA, JAL. There's fantastic airlines out there. Those I would say the US. And then Singapore. I can't forget Singapore. They always make the top 3 every year.
Wow, better than that's. And then, so when you're traveling here, is just Alaska and American Airlines?
I would say
within
that
the U.S.
I would say that if you are traveling and you're trying to look at who gets you to where you're trying to get to, I think that's going to be the most important. The routing is going to be probably the first thing. One of the reasons why I chose American over Delta was I had the choice because I'm in LA. I could choose any airline I wanted to fly it, but I had to look at where I was traveling to. There was actually no reason really why Delta should be the best airline, because they are in cities that people do not normally want to go to. Let's look at their hub cities. They got Atlanta. Okay, Atlanta, there's LAX, they have Atlanta, but then you got to look at their other hubs. They have Minneapolis. When was the last time you end up in Minneapolis?
Yeah.
When was the last time you end up in Detroit and Salt Lake City? Those are like their 3 hubs in the middle of the country. But then you look at American, okay, you look at United. United has San Francisco, they have Houston, they have Chicago, which is actually not bad. They have Houston, Chicago, and then they also have Newark. They used to have JFK. Now they're trying to get back to JFK, but they have Newark in New Jersey. So, I mean, those are like their primary ones. And then you look at American. American probably has the best connection. You got LA, you have Phoenix, Chicago, Dallas, Charlotte, Washington, D.C., Miami, and then they have JFK. So I think American
spread out.
American probably has more flights where you're trying to get to than anywhere else. And if there is a connection, they're probably going to go to a place that you're going to fly into. So from a business traveler standpoint, most of us as business travelers and are trying to get to major cities will usually choose American just to do that. And they also have a fantastic rewards program.
Now, I'm Mexican, and I obviously traveled a lot to Mexico. So what about to Mexico? What about the airlines?
So
there?
interesting. So
We use Delta a lot too, by the way.
So the national flagship carrier for Mexico is Aeromexico. And Aeromexico is part of the Sky Team. So they're part of Delta's partnership. So now we got a Delta. Remember we said they had these international. So technically, if you really look at it, Delta miles are actually pretty good to go to Mexico.
For Aeromexico.
For Aeromexico,
Yeah.
you're going to fly Aeromexico. Or you can fly Delta down there as well, but most
Yeah.
likely it'll be Aeromexico.
Yeah.
Because they fly a wide body jumbo 787, so they have the lie flat seat just between LA to Mexico City.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing about it. Remember I told you could book another airline to book? Well, same thing with Aeromexico. You don't have to use Delta miles and use Delta pricing. You could use Virgin.
Wow.
Virgin Atlantic. You could
For
use it to book.
Aeromexico?
You could Aeromexico. So remember, when I say they're all related, so if you're a Virgin and I'm Aeromexico, we're partners in the same alliance. We can bring your customers on mine, and then you get to choose what you want to charge. Delta one's going to charge high already. I already know that.
they already know.
But Virgin can charge less. And many times I've flown in Mexico on Aeromexico using Virgin for just 7,000 points.
Wow.
7,000 points.
Which is equivalent to what? Just those that are watching.
7,000 points, if we're 1 cent per point, is $70. But if you use it the right way, it could be 140 or it could be $300, depending on what the ticket. If they're 7,000, they have like a set rate. Delta, just compare that, would probably charge you about 20,000 points. So 7,000 versus 20,000. I don't even think that's even in the same ballpark. So what Delta gets you for one ticket, you can get 3 tickets with Virgin.
That's crazy.
And then guess what? Remember those Amex points? Those Amex points turn to Virgin. So I would get people to earn those Amex points or Chase points so that or Bilt points. And there's a few things. Actually, this year has probably been the year where I've seen more changes this year with points program. There are brand new points programs like Rove, programs like Bilt programs. Bilt and Rove are 2 new programs that have come up that are not with a major bank. They're just loyalty programs that you can earn really transferable points as well. Yeah.
Wow. That's like you just said earlier, they're really pushing that. Even credit card companies now, and they don't want to necessarily own the liability of the plane, but they want to be able to, at least earn your trust and use your business, right?
Yeah. The banks make money every time you swipe your card or you pay interest. I mean, those are the 2 ways: swiping your card for fees, and then the other one is when you're paying interest. If you don't pay any interest, then they only make money from swiping fees. They want you to swipe the card as much as possible because the merchant's paying fee every time. So here's the thing. They're enticing people to use their cards rather than a co-branded cards. Because here's the thing. If you're like an American Airlines, if you're Citi and you're working with American Airlines, just like Delta works with Amex, just like Chase works with United, if they do a co-branded deal, I have to split my profits with the brand. So if I'm Chase, I have to split it with United every time they use a United card because and I got to buy United miles from you every time.
Yeah.
But if I create my own, I don't have to split it with anyone. And then whenever my client decides I want to get United miles, I'll pay you for the miles when needed at that point. So a lot of the banks have decided to create their own rewards program. They have a lounge now. Capital One has a lounge. Chase has a lounge. American Express has a lounge.
Yeah.
Even smaller airlines now, we were talking about lounges earlier. JetBlue just opened their very first lounge in New York.
Wow.
And I don't think we're very far from Southwest. Southwest just opened their first lounge in Honolulu. Southwest never had a lounge. This year they're going to have a lounge.
So they don't not necessarily. Which is the one airline that has the most lounges? Like if you travel here in the U.S.,
American has 50 lounges.
Oh, wow.
50. And majority of them all in the U.S. There are a few, like they have one in Mexico City. They have in Brazil as well. They also have one in Japan but like most of them are all in the U.S. So American will probably have the most, but Delta as well. But here's the thing: they're going to be at the hub, so I'm not going to get into a Delta lounge unless I'm like at one of the places they're flying into.
You mentioned earlier,
yeah. So I find that depending on where you're flying from and where you're going, American usually does the job really well. And if you decide you want to do a Centurion lounge, but if we're looking at the banks, Centurion is probably the most. They probably have like about 15 to 16 at this point. Capital One has about like 5 or 6. And then, but Capital One right now is really winning. I'm going to say this. If you're going to get a lounge card, I'm going to recommend people get a Capital One Venture X over Amex right now. If you're just looking for a lounge, you can't beat it because Amex wants to charge $8.95 for their lounge card. Capital One says ours is $3.95.
It's $500 difference.
$3.95 versus $8.95. Because sometimes you want to get a lounge, but and if you're going, but here's the thing: they have one in Denver, one in Vegas, and then they have one in Dallas. So and then IAD, which is Dulles, and then they also have one at DCA in Washington D.C. in New York. So they're building it out right now. They're behind.
Capitalist.
Capital One is second place. They're building it out. So if they're not where you're trying to go, then no need,
Yeah.
because Amex right now has a lead. But if I'm saying I want a cheap flight, I mean I want to pay the lowest amount for a card, annual fee $395, and at the same time I want to be able to have a great lounge experience. You know what they do at the Capital One? They do grab and go on top of having food. So after you leave,
You can actually grab something and roll.
there's
Yeah,
like a
stuff you just grab and
refrigerator.
take it.
You can get like sandwiches, you get parfait, you get boxed water, they give you a chocolate, they even give you a bag. It is packaged and everything. And you could take on the plane. And everyone that comes with you, your kids, and come in and grab one too.
Grab one too
They
and
all
let's
can
roll.
get, yeah. I mean, you can't beat that. None of the other lounges do that right now.
Yeah,
I mean, I mean, Delta's kind of doing it right now with some of their lounges as well. But I mean, Capital One just does a fantastic job. I like them more than the Amex lounge at this point.
So right now that I'm traveling a lot from LA to Atlanta,
Okay.
you know, what would you suggest? Is that
I
American
mean,
Airlines
we've
or-
flown American before. This time we're going to try go Delta this route. I think, you know, it makes sense for you to go because, you know, if you're going to fly out on Ontario and they have nonstop, then you should take advantage of that one. I think that's a good option to do it. But, you know, if you had Amex Platinum, let's just say you had the Amex Platinum, you actually, a lot of people don't know this, you can actually use the Amex Platinum to get into the Delta lounge.
Oh,
Yeah, you don't need to get a Delta credit card. The Amex, because Amex and Delta are partners, they allow you 10 visits a year into the Delta Club. So there's one in Atlanta, there's one here in LA as well. So if you had the Amex Platinum, you can get in the lounge. As well.
I saw there was a lounge in Ontario. It was a small airport, but I saw there was a
that's
lounge.
a Priority Pass lounge, or that could be Aspire Lounge. So yeah,
I
Amex
think
will get you in there.
Aspire Lounge.
It's
What is
Aspire
that?
Lounge.
What does that consist of?
You know, I just interviewed the Aspire senior vice president 2 weeks ago. They are primarily in Europe. They're coming over here. They're looking to expand more, but these are third party. So let me explain to you how the lounges work. So either the airline runs a lounge, but you and I could open our own lounge. If we can negotiate with the airport, we could actually open our own lounge. Okay. And then we could decide who we want to, we could either just get people who want to pay for the day, get in, but that's not going to drive a lot of traffic. So what they usually do is they sign up with a membership company, a company called Priority Pass in the US is really popular. They will pay, you pay for membership for Priority Pass, and then Priority Pass says we'll allow you to go into any of the lounges that accepts us. So if you and I open up a lounge, we can say we accept Priority Pass, and then anytime their customer comes in, they'll drive the traffic to us, and then Priority Pass pays the lounge like $28. We may pay a day pass person $50, but because they're driving traffic, we give them a group discount. So maybe we're charging like $28. And then here's a cool thing. If you get a credit card, you don't have to go buy the Priority Pass. Some of the premium credit cards come with free Priority Pass, and it's a really elite level. It's unlimited. So let me give you an example. Let's say you go to an airport like Dallas, and they have a minute suite, or they have 2 lounges, 3 lounges. You technically, if you have a long layover, you could go every one of them, and they'll pay for every one of them. And there's no.
Right now that you're saying that, I was thinking about my flight back from Arkansas. Remember, we got stuck in Dallas, or we ended up in. I was just thinking about having the family with me and being stuck with, you know, the not being able to get a flight. You got to stay the night, and you got to wait. And I'm like, oh, if we would have had a lounge pass at that moment, we'd have just been.
It would
have been a better
to
way to hang out and not spend all this money at different stores everywhere. Like you said, we were just running around like it was a mall.
You could get a lounge access, and it would set you up, and it changes the game for me. I don't think, like, my daughter now, when she goes, she used to be, now she now it's normal for her, but she was like, she loved going to the airport because she was like, which lounge are we going to? And she would lead us there. Then what hotel would we go to? You know, I mean, your kids eventually kind of learn how to do the game, and it is a game, and it's fun. If you learn how to do it, it's going to make it fun. And it makes the experience of going to the airport not as like, I'm going to a bus terminal. You know, I'm trying to,
exactly.
You're going to make it a fun event.
Yeah. And that's what I really want to, you know, kind of instill in everybody who's watching is the fact that this is like the wealthy way of traveling, right? Whether if you don't have the money, if you're not in the bracket to where you know, are flying private and you have your own airline or your own plane, well, this is the other way to actually fly, you know, first class or get the best out of your money, you know, when you're out there traveling, being able to travel. Like, I think that's when me and you really got together. I was like, hey, Ben, I have my family. I don't wish to travel anyway uncomfortable anymore. I want to make sure that it's comfortable, that it's safe, and that we have the best experience ever. And then you've been able to do that for us. But I think that's how we actually, our first conversation was like, hey, I can, me on my own, I can travel however the heck I wanted to, right? But now that I have, my wife and the kids, like I want to make sure that they're traveling, in a comfortable way, and like these kind of things that we got all these little perks that not that we're not used to having, or I wasn't really familiar with. And you're talking to someone who's traveling Volaris, back and forth to Mexico, and really like you just said, an Airbus, in Europe.
Okay. Let's talk about Viva and Aerobus for a second. Viva Aerobus and Volaris. They're actually doing better than probably Aeromexico right now, and they don't have a relationship. But actually, Viva has actually did a deal with Frontier. I don't know if you know that. Frontier Airline over here, the low cost, actually has a deal with Viva Aerobus. So that's actually something that we're going to see. So I think we're going to see eventually, once they figure it out, that you can use your Frontier miles to fly. But more important than anything else is that you can also access a lounge. I had gotten my in-laws, they live in Sinaloa. I got them global entry. And some people probably know it as Sentry in Mexico. It's called Sentry, Sentri. It's the expedited line. If you're, especially right now, you go through
Sentry.
If you go through the line right now around the Christmas holiday, you could be at the border for like 2 hours waiting, right? Hours. If you have Sentry or what we call global entry here, they'll give you access to the Sentry line. When I made them go get it, and it's changed their life. When they come through, we're not waiting 2 hours anymore. They're bypassing 2 hours of people in line in a special line, and they go up to a kiosk. They look at their ID. They do a facial recognition, and boom, they're through. Like in seconds.
That's so cool.
If you are in a trusted traveler program, you also get VIP expedited service. So there's two lines. When you walk to the airport, you got the regular TSA line, and then you have the pre-check line. And people are like this, oh, but sometimes the pre-check line looks longer than the regular line. I've heard people say that online. Here's the thing. Everyone who gets in the regular line has to take out, they don't have to take off their shoes anymore, let everybody know. But you still have to take off your laptop. You got to take out all the stuff, the water, there's at least 2 or 3 bins.
Yeah, that you have to take over.
You got to take out for each person.
Yep.
So if there are 5 people, that's 15 bins. Okay, I'm just letting you know. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
In the other line, in the pre-check line, they've already pre-screened you. So if you have global entry or TSA pre-check, you've already been pre-screened. You go in that lane, the X-ray people know they don't have to. You just put everything in your bag and go. There's 1 bin and that's it.
That's it.
So even if there's 10 people, it's only 10 bins. The other one has 5 people, but it has 15 bins. It's just the shorter line is really the one with less bins is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Because really, it's not the number of people. It's how fast can the TSA agent who's X-raying stuff go through everything? That's really what you're checking. They're not checking the people.
And then you're often pulled, stopped, and all of a sudden, let me check this, let me check that, and what's this, and what's that? And I'm like, let me just roll.
So if you have global entry, it's like TSA pre-check, but it also covers you for immigration when you come back. So when you come back into the country, if you have global entry, not only do you get TSA pre-check when you leave the country, but when you come back in the country, they have the expedited immigration, expedited customs. You walk in, instead of when you land from another country, you land. You know what, you have to pull out your passport, right? You got to have the agent stamp it. No, not with global entry. You walk up into this line, there's a camera, it facial IDs you. You don't even pull out your passport anymore. You walk up, they see your picture, and they call your name. Diego Alba. Yes, thank you. And you move on. That's it. That's your whole immigration now if you have global entry.
That's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah, it's worth it.
It is totally worth it. And you know how much it costs? $100 for 5 years. That's $20 a year.
Wow.
Oh, I'm sorry. Take it back. They raised it up. It's $120 now. It's $120 for 5 years.
Wow.
And here's the good thing. They changed it. If you have kids, they have to go through the global entry process too to get approved. But if they do, as long as their parent is with them and has global entry, the kids can get global entry for free.
Oh, that's included.
So if you have 2 kids, 3 kids,
what do you think is for those people that are out there, conspiracy theory people? What do you think is the catch on that, from the government standpoint or anything?
I mean, the reality is this: yes, the CIA listen to your phone calls. Sure, if you have something to hide, if they want to pay attention to, I'm sure they can. Yeah. I mean, my answer to is, if you are a person that probably doesn't want to be government to look on you, okay, then don't do it and go wait in line. But do you?
Basically, if you're a criminal,
why does the government care about you? I mean, I think some people think they're way more important than they really are. But I mean, does the government really care to listen to your phone calls? Yeah. I mean, could they? Yes. Are they? Probably don't have the resources to go do it. Random people.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a big time politician, maybe,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you're flying private and you don't have to worry about certain things like
Yeah,
this.
well, if you're flying private, they don't have TSA pre-check. I mean, I've flown it before. You know, you walk up to the FBO and then pilot says, "What's your name?" and all that, and you get back on the plane. You know, that's a different level. You know what? I was going to talk about lounges. There's actually a really high-end, super elite lounge out there at LAX called the Private Suites, the PS Lounge, sometimes they call it, and it's literally has its own security, and they have a cool snack thing. It is costs some money, but it's super VIP. Like my friend took it the other day, and he was there, and Khloe Kardashian was literally in front of him going through that. But they have their own security in their own lounge. It's like literally off the terminal. So it's called the Private Suite.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
What's the cost of that? Do you know or no?
it's like about $2,500. Yeah.
For the year?
I
No?
think it's by the. If I'm not wrong, I thought it was by the visit.
Oh, wow.
It is pretty premium.
Okay,
yeah.
2,500.
Yeah, it's like, but they have a whole.
But it's
thing.
not
They
for
have a
private
menu
airlines then?
It's a private terminal, and then they'll pick you up too, and then they'll take you to the plane. They like take you right to the plane.
Oh, cool.
They'll drive you on the tarmac to the plane and everything. So if you're flying Delta, you go hang out this lounge, and then they'll drive, and you go through your own security, and then they have like TSA and everything there,
They
like
take you
for
to your own
privately.
plane?
Like it's walking into your office, and you
Yeah.
have your own security, and you have their own lounge, and they have food, they have a menu. You get there a couple hours early and everything. You can hang out there with your family and everything. Yeah, yeah, you can.
Yeah,
It's super high end.
You know, when you start looking at time and traveling and driving, I will tell you this: I was recently with a partner, and we traveled over to from Atlanta to Florida, and you know, I'll give him a shout out, Shane. And so we went out to Florida, and we were like, they did the math actually of the driving, you know, having to drive how many hours does it take versus flying, and so we just took a private plane and flew. And we were there and back, you know what I mean? And it's like having to not deal with all this TSA and all this craziness, and then being able to like travel and go there, arrive, handle our appointment meetings, and then head back. It's just so convenient. But again, this is a whole nother level of business, right? Business class. And it was like, what were we out there doing? And you don't just do it to do it, right? We're doing it to leverage time.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. So like, I think overall, you have to look at where you're at in life and see what makes more sense for you when it comes to traveling. But definitely, no matter where your point of life you're in, whether you're a starting point or, you know, financially or, you know, a little bit more well off or wealthy, points matter.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing I've learned is that these points matter because you're not going to fly everywhere private unless you, again, own your own plane or already kind of in a different bracket.
And it's with their daily average spend. Everyone's spending money on something. Every time you swipe your credit card anywhere or use a card,
groceries or clothes or whatever you're doing, right?
you know, my goal is to help everyone earn more than 1 cent per point. Ideally, they're earning at least 2 cents per point. There are some categories out there like dining, they can earn 3 to 5. Do you know that you could swipe your card and earn 3 points for every dollar that you spend for food? And then if you go to the right restaurants and you understand it and you register, every time you walk into that restaurant, your favorite restaurant or maybe a specialty restaurant, you could be able to earn extra 3x, an extra 5 points. So now you're walking out every time you're spending dollars, you could be earning 8x on every dollar that you spend. And that's faster than what most people are, which is earning maybe 1x.
Yeah.
So if you understand the game, now you're earning faster. You're not spending more. You're just earning smarter
Yeah, and
now.
I think that's one thing that I think people have to learn. It's like, yeah, you're using credit cards, right? But let's just say you spend on average $3,000 a month, right? In food and gas and groceries. Now it's just okay. I'm gonna have that $3,000 in a checking account, right? I'm gonna use these credit cards, and just every month I'm gonna pay it off. And then it's not that you're getting yourself in debt. It's like now, like you just mentioned, you're doubling your money because you're getting a point. So on the back end, you're getting paid to use the cards that you were gonna end up using that money anyways on a debit card. Instead of using the debit card, use the credit card, get the points, and then make money that way.
Most people look at credit as a way to finance their lifestyle. What we're talking about is actually, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, I pay everything cash, I don't want to get in debt, this is perfect for you because if you have the cash already, use a card just for protection. For there's a lot of protection. That's the other thing of it. If you're going to buy something, I don't know, people realize this. If you pay with cash or debit card, you don't really have that much protection.
That's true.
If you're using a credit card, that's not your money. That's the bank's money.
Yeah, they're protecting their money. They're going to
If
protect
there's
their money.
fraud that happens,
Yep.
that's not your money. That's the bank's money. That's
Yeah.
Chase's money.
Yeah.
You haven't even given Chase. You're repaying Chase 30 days later,
Yeah.
or up to 30 days. You know,
Yeah.
but that's their money. So if there is fraud that happened, that's their money. They're going to deal with it.
And
That's
you know what?
protection for you.
And that's crazy that you mentioned that, because I just recently got 3 of my cards replaced, and they were exactly that. That was the issue with them as well.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is why you don't use debit cards, because they're, once the moment they start hacking into them, now you got to close the cards for one, and now you got to go back and get another card, and then at the same time, if it would have been a credit card, it would just automatically call fraud, blah blah blah. They would give you a different credit card. You don't have to lose the credit card account, but they just give you a different credit card. And that happened to me also I want to say in Paris. We were in Paris. I just arrived, got to the hotel room, ordered some food to get delivered to the room. And that same night, they used my card. And in the morning, I woke up with a bunch of charges. And I'm like, what the heck? And they're like, yeah, your card's been used here, there, everywhere. And so they had to close it. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, that's, but you're right. It's the protection that you get when you get no protection on a debit card. With a credit card, it's their money. They're going to protect it. And you get, like if something was not you, they're going to give you back your money. Yeah. And it's just a win-win.
It is a little different especially if you come from a different country where credit's viewed in a different way and it's hard to get, and you're looking at like you're getting. But the way we use it here in this country, if you use it the proper way, it is a level of protection. And it also provides you extra points that you could be able to earn that nowhere else. I don't know if you know this. People in other countries try to get into the U.S. system just so they can get U.S. credit cards, just U.S. specific credit cards, so that they can earn points, they can travel. And here we are living in this country, and we don't take advantage of it. Where people from other countries are trying to start up businesses, get a social security number, get an ITIN number, just so they can be able to get U.S. credit cards.
Yeah, that's so crazy. And Ben, for those of you that don't know you on here, what's your background? How did you are you were you born in the U.S. or did you what's your story?
So my father and my mother came here from Thailand when nobody knew what Thailand or Thai food was. I kid you not.
One of my favorite
I was like an ambassador growing up. I had to explain to people when I was growing up. My dad owned one of the first Thai restaurants in this country. I had to grow up teaching people or explaining to people what was Thai iced tea. Forget about pad Thai. That wouldn't even exist yet at that time. When I would say I was from we were from Thailand, they would like, oh, that's like Taiwan, right? And like, no, like different country. So
that's how I grew up thinking too. Thailand is Taiwan.
It's funny. Now I have Taiwanese friends, and they said, oh, no, it's the reverse now. When I say Taiwan, they go, oh, Thailand. They're like, no. And I'm like, oh, I guess we made it now because we're all the reverse now.
You made it in the
it's
US.
funny. But I didn't, that was the thing about it. My mom would travel. My grandmother was really big on traveling and exploring, but my father owned that restaurant. And because of that, he was kind of chained to his restaurant. We couldn't leave for long periods of time. I still remember the best thing that ever happened to our family was that when he sold the restaurant. And it's because I got to spend time, because we got to spend time with with us. I think a lot of times when you're a father, you're like, I'm a hard worker. I'm there to provide my family. I'm there to do it. But when the kids look at it in the end, they don't really care. They just want you to be there for them. They want you to have the time with them. And that's what I wanted my dad. And the time I got to spend with my dad after he sold the restaurant was incredible. And I can't ever replace that. So although it's sad when I look back from a achievement standpoint, they go, I wish he kept on running the restaurant. But really in the end, every person, I think, if you ask my dad, even back then, I would say, when people ask, do you want your kids to take over the restaurant? He was like, no, I don't want them to take. I want them to do something more, better. And I think as a parent and as a father, we always want our kids to do better and do more. And I think I realized in the end when I was growing up later on, before I had Niley, I was working 5 days a week, and in insurance. Then I would teach insurance on the weekends. And then there was like maybe one weekend a month where I didn't work, and I didn't know what to go do with myself. Because I was so used to working, I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know how to like relax. And I did that all the way till my daughter was like 3 years old, 4 years old. And I started thinking to myself, what am I doing? I have a little one and I'm not spending time with her. And I think that's the thing too. A lot of times someone maybe be listening to this video right now going, travel sounds great, but I got to hustle. I got to go work. I'm like, you tell yourself that you do it for a better future, but like how much are you going to go make? In the end, ultimately, your kids are going to be 3, 4. My wife told me, she's like, you know what? Nyla's going to grow up and you're not going to see her. She's just going to grow up because you're so focused on that. And next thing you don't know about the things that are happening with your kids because you're so focused on the bill. I'm not saying that you shouldn't hustle and shouldn't do all those things, but you got to take time. And I felt like the time where I started traveling and I took my daughter with me, I was able to do more, spend time with her. We were able to talk more. Yeah, sure, we talk when we take her to school and pick her up and do all those things. But it's not the same when you go away. When you go away and you're in a different, you're not at home. You're not doing what you're normally doing.
Like my
you
little
have to
ones,
do different.
my little ones are like, Dad, let's go to a hotel. Or let's go, I'm like, oh, they want to travel again. Or let's go on a plane. Or let's go, let's like pretty much they're saying, let's go places. Let's go somewhere different.
Because you know what? You don't look at it like that way, but from their perspective, they got to hang out with their parents and got to do stuff. Yeah. That's different.
Well, my parents always at least twice, minimum twice a year, even though they were both employees all their lives, but twice a year we would vacation to Mexico and go visit cousins, relatives, aunts, and, and go for different area, seasons of the year, right? Sometimes summer, sometimes Christmas time, sometimes, so we would experience different things. And honestly, I can tell you that played a big role in my life. Like I remember those moments. I remember every single one of my uncles, aunts, cousins and experiences. And that's why I always talk about the moments I live for, right? Is being able to experience these kind of moments with my own kids. And I express that to Rebecca as well. Like, hey man, I really, not hey man, but hey baby, like I really, it's important to me to have the kids experience that. Like I want them to experience, being around, new places and just seeing, what's possible out there and not just being stuck to, a home or a tablet. And I think that's one thing I love too, is like with them being able to like bring whatever they see on the tablet to life. Like they see, I remember, being younger, they were smaller and, seeing Blippi or following Blippi. And then all of a sudden we're at the Dodger Stadium with Blippi, and then so like to them, it's like, what the heck? Like you're bringing it to life, or like bringing Mickey Mouse to life or, stuff like that. And I think that's very important on traveling too, is like, hey, we get to travel and go places and you get to see things that, possibly we never got a chance to see.
I honestly, the new luxury today is not about necessarily the cars or the watches or the big homes, because in the end, ultimately, the shine of that fades after a while once you've had it. But in the end, ultimately, I think the new luxury today is about experience. It's like, what do you get? What's the memory? Because in the end, when we're all gone, what are we going to have?
It's that memory.
We're just going to have the memories that we have. I mean, like the memories we have of our parents and the things that we have. And I think the same thing with our kids. I remember when I was a kid, because my dad didn't have the time for us, what he would do is he'd make up for it by buying us stuff. So we'd always buy us stuff. Like I had toys and everything. And I think that's what we do. Yeah. This is the problem. And in the end, we didn't care about all that junk, the closet full of toys. We just wanted we just wanted time with our father. And I really feel like things like that you can be able to do now. And if Points and Miles are able to help you achieve that, that's what you should do. You should be able to learn it so that you can do it. So you don't have to go, you know what? I don't have the money. I got to hustle to go make money for it. Earn the points, have it. Yeah. When you're able to, you go take 1 or 2 vacations a year. That's what I do for all my clients.
And what's crazy about it is that it does it on its own, right? You're already using the cards. You're already buying groceries. You're already buying gas. You're already fuel. You're already doing a bunch of different things that you can just use that in. And it, like for me, like when it happens, it's like, it's there. I don't even realize it's there, because I'm not doing anything separate, or I'm not like purposely doing it. But if you have the right cards, like you said, and you do it more strategically, then you have the ability to do so many other things.
Yeah, my students.
Not everybody has a Ben.
No, no. But you know what? My students earn like 1 million points a year, and you can do the same thing if you figure it out. You put a strategy together. I mean, I work with my students all the time, put a strategy together, but they can be able to do it with the current spend. And there's other ways that there's also creative spending too, but there's a lot of ways that you could be able, like for example, right now, you could go to Costco and buy gold and then resell it, and there's resellers out there that will buy your gold. And 1 bar of gold right now is $4,500. So you can earn times 2x, you can earn 9,000 points just by one purchase over at Costco. Something as simple as that, and they'll hit your minimum spend that you need to make. Oh, you got to spend 15,000 first 3 months. You can do that with a few bars of gold. I mean, it's possible to do. And these are things that if you want to dive into, you can do more.
Yeah, it's just using the numbers and the way it works. So now everybody out there, go buy yourself some gold at Costco. Don't go to Sam's Club. No, I'm just playing. Go buy, but I mean, there's ways and there's strategic ways of doing things. And so instead of winging it and trying to figure it out on your own, I always say it: find yourself a mentor, find yourself a coach, someone that can help you, guide you. to where you're ready to fly on your own. We all start somewhere, but again, it's just who you are and where you're at in life. And then, I think this is important. This episode to me was really important because people need to understand. I didn't know this, and I always thought this is only for the wealthy, and it's not. It's like this is the best way to travel. This is the best way to do things is through point systems.
It's changed so much now. It at one time it was. What you're saying is so true because credit wasn't easily get. Lounges were just for like high-end business travelers, and I'm not saying that those things still don't exist, but what I'm saying is that it's become much more democratized now. You got Capital One opening lounges, Chase lounges. Banks are opening up lounges now. Even Built, the rewards program, they're looking at opening a lounge, and so they understand that travel is bigger than ever before, and there's more people flying than ever before. And to do it the right way, it takes some strategy. If you don't do it the right way, you're going to be sitting in the back of the bus.
Yeah, and then you take away the whole, you got to be rich to travel. Like I think when I went, to Europe and all that, I realized like, man, there's so many people traveling. Like you do not, and people traveling with their kids, and at that point, me and my wife didn't have our little ones, and I'm just like, if they're doing it, there's no excuse. Like there's definitely traveling is not the problem. It's the person that's the problem, not knowing how to travel or how to earn these points.
Well, here one of the things I get all the time too is Ben, I want to get a credit card that doesn't have annual fee. I'll start with this one. This is actually one major mistake that people have, and the reason is this: someone told you early on, don't get a credit card with an annual fee. But the problem with a card that doesn't have an annual fee is that there's no benefit. So the only benefit you usually find is a 0% APR. It has to do with that.
Yeah.
Which
is what I'm used to. Right?
The cards that actually have an annual fee, there's actually two more tiers above it. There's like a mid tier, like in the $95 level, and then they have a higher end tier, which is usually starts at $395 all the way up to like $900. Any of the middle or the mid tier or the top tier, they come with insurance. Let me give you an example. If you fly and you find out that flight gets delayed 6 hours or more, okay, or they have to overnight to another. Some of the cards, if you have the right card and you paid with the right card, like the Chase Sapphire Preferred or the Venture X, or if you have the right card, and you paid with that, they'll actually give you up to $500 for the hotel, food, the rental, Uber.
So it pays itself. It really,
pays
at the end
for
of the day,
itself.
People I think are always like that mentality of like, I'm not going to pay for this. I'm not going to pay for that. Or I don't want to pay for anything. And it's like, well, anything with value costs. And at the end of the day, if you know how to use it, like you just mentioned, you know how to turn it, and convert it into a positive thing. And, like if something like that, God forbid you have a situation, you have a whole year ahead of you. You can't tell me in a whole year everything's going to be perfect. Nothing's ever perfect. And if you run into that situation, you just mentioned it, you're actually saving money, because they're giving you a $500 credit. You only paid $395. You're at $105, difference that you would never had if you would never paid that fee.
$500 per, some cards, $500 per passenger.
Wow.
So you can go eat Chris Ruth Steakhouse if you want, and go stay at a Ritz-Carlton if you really needed to. There's the only one available. Here's the thing. I'll tell about people when they make claims. I've been in insurance for 30 years. It's how you position. How do you tell the story? They give you up to 500, but it's going to be a person on the other end who's going to listen to your story. Does it sound believable? One of my friends, every time there's a delay, instead of going to do that, he just go buy clothing. Because he says, you know what? The delay happened. I needed clothing. I had to be in a meeting. I didn't have access to my clothing because it's still on the plane. So I have to go buy clothing. So he goes in the airport and shops. It's not cheap. Go shop for clothing at the airport.
Yeah.
But he has $500 to work with. So he's like, I'm going to go buy Lululemon. So he buys like all this Lululemon gear every time there's a delay. It was over 6 hours. Or here's the other hack. If it overnights, the other rule is if it overnights. So guess what he does? He books sometimes flights where it's late at night and he may have a connection issue. And if it's a connection and he misses it, it's the last flight. He has to fly the next day. So now it's the next day. Guess what? He's going to get his reimbursement for $500 because the flight got delayed.
The flight got delayed for the next day.
But he kind of, by choosing the last flight, it increases the likelihood that happens. So things like that. There's ways you can kind of work it, if you want to. Get your money back.
Especially if you're using it, as often as he is. Yeah. But that give me an idea. I'm going to go shopping next time, buy a suit when I'm on, getting delayed, and then put it back on the actual card. But look, Thai. So were you born in Thailand?
I was born here. In fact, when I was born, Cher was having her daughter, Chastity, at the time, and they closed the whole floor. My dad, talking about insurance, my dad didn't have insurance. He paid cash and he had me at Cedars-Sinai Hospital.
Oh, wow.
And my dad said after that, he's like, I need to have insurance. But, I was born here, and I always, my mom and dad very much instilled in me how it was important that we had our heritage. And I think that was important for me too, because dad owning a restaurant and not knowing that the business my dad goes into becomes our calling card. Everywhere I go nowadays, when I tell someone I'm Thai, people usually respond is like, oh, I love Thai food, or I like Thai food, or
Yeah, that's one of my favorite. Yeah, it's one of my favorite.
Food is usually our calling card. So once a year now, I lead a tour group to Thailand, but I ended up learning Thai when I was like 16. I didn't actually learn until much older. My mom and dad, here's the thing. My mom faced a lot of discrimination. I didn't realize it, but she grew up in Australia from 12 to like 20 years old. Then she came here to America when they first opened up. Before 1965, do you know there's no Thai people here? My mom and dad are the first Thai people, like that group, to come here to America.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Where are you guys coming? Because they always talk about us coming in a boat and all these things. Where'd you guys coming?
Let me explain to you. So in case
no, we just cross over the border.
Yeah,
we
this was
we
your
just
land.
hop over walls, man.
This was Mexico at one time. Let's be real. But from World War I, 1920 to 1965, there's no Asian immigration at all. You can't come to America between 1920 and 1965. Like there's none, because if you remember, we were afraid that especially the only ones that came here early were the Chinese, the Japanese, and the Indians. They're the first wave that came here. They're the ones that built the railroads. And then in 1945, with the Japanese, with the World War II, then they really shut it all out. So they had something called the Chinese Exclusion Act. And in 1943, they moved all the Japanese out of their homes and put them in internment camps. And then, so 43 to 65, there's none. And so this country when we talk about racism and discrimination, we're not that far away. I mean, our parents grew up or born right around that era. The baby boomers grew up right in that era.
Yeah.
And so in 65, the only reason that Asians were allowed back into this country was JFK.
Oh, wow.
JFK wanted to do the space race against the Russians and realized that the Russians were winning. They were already up in orbit and we didn't. So they said, JFK says, baby, we need to get people from around the world. It's going to be Russia, not against US. It's Russia against the rest of the world. So we're going to open up the whole border again. We're going to bring students over here and hopefully they come study here. They're going to stay here. So my parents came here as students. So in 65, a lot of the ones that came here, they came here to study. Many of them went back. My parents decided to stay here as they were hoping, and that's why I was born. So, like, I'm really the second generation of Thai. That's why there was no Thai restaurants before then.
Wow.
And there's no Vietnamese. All the Southeast Asians, this is all post 1965. And so if it wasn't for that, and eventually he got shot, and then, LBJ signed but they were looking for students. They were looking for nurses. So we got nurses from the Philippines. We have, pharmacists from Vietnam. We have Indian doctors and technologists. And so that's kind of where this country is. That's why when I look at where we are as a country right now, I'm like, that's what America is to me. Yeah. Like America to me is, we are a culmination of everywhere around the world here. Yeah. And I think that's what makes America great.
Yeah, that we're all mixed together.
We're all here. We have the best of the best. I mean, that's really what it is. I mean, look, even the Mexicans are here. They're explorers. They're trying to have a better life. You didn't get here because you're going to be lazy. When we say, I think it's a misnomer to say, okay, Mexicans are the only ones who are hardworking. I'm like, everyone that comes to this country came here because they're trying to work.
Yeah.
That's the reason why they came here. If not, then you just stay in your country.
Yeah.
So this country attracts people who want to hustle and work hard and improve their life. Sometimes many of us send the money back, but some of us decide to stay here and we want a better life for our kids.
No, yeah, and it's surprising that you see, and especially right now during the social media era, is that so many people that come here and a year later are already multimillionaires, and it's because they're taking advantage of the opportunity. They're not like the ones that are been living here all these years and are like, I'm a victim. They come here like, no, I'm an opportunist. I'm here to take advantage of everything that these people haven't been taking advantage of. And why you see so many millionaires overnight. And it's not so much that they come in and they just got lucky. They came in and they put in the work and they study and they understand it and then they take advantage of it. Because there's other countries that don't have that ability.
Well, I mean, look at the ability to find funding and get money. You can't do that easily in other countries.
No.
You know, I mean, when you tell somebody what you have to do to, I mean, it's almost ridiculous. So the opportunity here is still fantastic.
That's
here.
crazy to me. I'm like, dude, like even with when I talk about, you know, the lending world right now for real estate and all that, I'm like, they're literally giving you money and you guys don't know how to do it, you know how to use it, or you're scared of what? Like these people that, you know, when we come over, my parents come in here, my parents lived in Mexico and they had a home, they left everything, came here. Like you just talk about fear, you know, they came here and people are scared of doing things that they have the access to do. And I'm like, what are you waiting on?
Well,
like,
they need a roadmap. They need a coach. I
Yeah.
mean, you can't just give somebody money and not tell them what to go do with it. They don't know what to do with
they'll
it.
fall apart.
Yeah, they will.
Which is what always happens with athletes, right? Like they get the money up front, and all of a sudden, you know, a few years later they're broke, or you know, and they're getting better at that. But I think, you know, and I think this, you know, it's changing a bit. But back then, yeah, they gave them all this money. They don't know what the heck to do with it. I mean, you'd probably do the same with us. We, you know, even, well, actually, I again never been an athlete in my life, but myself, you know, when I was younger as an entrepreneur, that was me, you know, wasting my money and throwing it everywhere, thinking I was going to be reigning forever. And then, you know, I get a few reminders of like, you know, the '08 and, you know, crash and all that stuff that took everything away from me. But those are, you know, again, it's me being young and never having access to that kind of money, and all of a sudden having all this money up front, not knowing what to do with it, and you know, and over leveraged, no foundation, and then just, you know, fall apart.
That's true.
So it's really important. But I want to thank you for coming onto, you know, the episode and just showing us what at this point in your life, what ignites you, what keeps that fire running inside of you to do what you do. I know, I see that you love what you do. So, you know, going from the insurance world and leaving that behind and doing this.
You know, here's the thing. I think whenever you're choosing to do something in your life, I know it's honestly a luxury to be able to do something you love. I think back and I look at it. I mean, there's very few times in anyone's life where you go, you know what, I get to do what I love to do every single day. I wish I was able to do it sooner, but it is what it is now. You know, 30 years after insurance, I finally get a chance. But, you know, it's a journey I think everyone goes through. And sometimes that journey happens earlier and that journey sometimes happens later. It's a choice and decision everyone needs to make when the time comes. There was two things that happened. One was, I always believe it's a push and pull, like quit my job and do this full time. The pull to do this was for a long time. And then the push came that I just really didn't like who I was working for anymore. And I said, you know what, I want to give it a shot. And here's the thing. If anyone's ever sitting there going think about whether they should do or not do, I said, you know, what's the worst can happen? Worst can happen is if it doesn't work out, you can always go back to your old life. But if you don't do what you think you should be or could be capable of doing, I think that's you're doing a disservice to yourself. You only have one life to live. Yeah. So you're going to live a life that's safe and then, you know, be in the defense all the time, or you're going to try to come to this country that we just talked about and make it a better life for yourself. If you're trying to make a better life for yourself, you have to take those opportunities when they come, even if not everything is perfect. I think that's the thing. Sometimes you're like, everything has to be perfect. Sometimes it's not perfect yet. The perfect is you make a decision and then it will become better as you do it. And, you know, sometimes what a lot of people don't realize when a roller coaster is, business is a roller coaster. It's never like just growth and it's never just positive. There's highs and there's lows and there's valleys, but you have to go, do I like this? Do I love what I do, that regardless if it's a high or low, I'm going to do it every day. And if you don't like, that's why we said, you know, you should do something you like, because if not, and you go in business and you hate what you do, but you're just doing for the money, what happens when there's no money? What are you going to do it? So you have to, I think it's really important that you got to do something that you really love, because they'll take you through all the lows. I think that's so important. And that's what keeps me going. My people, I have a community of people that I teach and I mentor.
Oh, I was about to say, what do you mean, my people?
Oh, I teach people every single week how to be better at travel. My goal is to help them become the best traveler. And so every week I do Q&A with them, open, and then I also bring in experts from our field, if my one superpower in my business is that I know pretty much everyone of anyone. I would say that they're the 1% of the 1% of people who earn points and miles and travel. You know, they write the blogs that you read. They do the YouTubes. They do all the Instagram. I know all those folks. And one thing I've learned is that everyone has a different journey. Everyone's journey toward happiness, or everyone's journey to financial success, or everyone's journey to retirement and travel is going to be unique. You're going to have to forge your own path, and you can learn from everyone. And that's what I do every single week. So in my mentorship that I do that every single time. And my new passion right now is actually helping other creators. I actually have a few creators now that have joined my group because they want to get better, not only at creating, but also becoming a better leader as well. And I think those things are all going hand in hand.
That's crazy. And how can people find you on social media or on different platforms?
Yeah. So my website, Ben's Big Deal, Instagram, same thing, Ben's Big Deal, on YouTube as well, on TikTok. But I said, you really find me, most of it's if it's going to be on Instagram. I do some long form on YouTube as well, but the majority of majority of my long form is typically my mentorship. So if you sign up for my newsletter, bensbigdeal.com, you'll be able to get some of my free classes and come join me live and ask questions.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. Well, thanks again, man, for coming on. And Ben's Big Deals, he truly is a big deal, and I appreciate you. And I mean, we met at we were both at an event. We were both speaking.
Yes.
And I started talking to you ahead of time in the private area we were at, and one thing has led to another, man. So I'm glad that we got a chance to meet. I hope the feeling is mutual.
Yes, we had a fantastic time. It's been great helping and see your family be able to travel and help you guys with those memories, because those are the things that make me excited. When I'm booking for someone, I'm like, I feel like I'm going through the trip as well when I'm working with them. I'm working with a family right now going to Thailand, and I've been so involved in their travel planning that I feel like I'm taking the trip with them. So I can't wait to hear it. So when that's how I feel. When you really love travel, you're like, I love being a part of their journey.
Well, thanks again, brother, for coming on. And guys, this is the guy to look at. Make sure you pay attention. You learn. Remember, I always talk about listening, learning, and applying yourself. See you next time.